Hello and welcome to another Bookish one. And this week I'll be talking about a book. For those of you who are new here, this is the video where I'll be talking about things that I've read or things that I'm currently reading. Sometimes I would also talk about things that, bookish things that happened to me, like new books that I just acquired or any other bookish related subjects. But I think this time around, this Bookish avec is going to be kind of short, mainly because I want to talk about this book which I just finished this week. Now, FYI, I actually finished two books. The other book that I finished was actually Things in Jars by Jess, but I was reading that book for the Bookish prize, and therefore I'm not going to talk about what I felt about that book. And now that I have finished 4 Bookish prize books, I still have 2 left. I'm currently reading The Prettiest by Sickels, and haven't started Shuggie Bain. So hopefully I could finish that before the deadline. I'm pretty sure I could. I mean, I have to. Anyway, this video I'm going to talk about Quarantine by Crace. This book is kind of interesting. First of all, I actually started reading this book in May for maybe mid-rush. I'm going to include the details about that readathon in the description below. But, you know, this is kind of like a belated completion of a readathon. I mean, that's kind of a pattern for me anyway, so it happens. But anyway, I actually had 2 books for that readathon. The other one, Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse, I actually DNF'd, so I only have this one left, and I completed it last night. And I have some thoughts about this book, because this book is, it's kind of like one of those books that are just kind of unique, or at least I feel that it was unique. It kind of challenges you in a way that you didn't really expect. I wouldn't say that this book was really shocking or surprising in any way, but yeah, I'm going to talk about how it kind of shaped my views on reading as a whole. But yeah, before that, what is this book about? So Quarantine it's kind of like this book is touted as the modern retelling or reinterpretation of the story of Jesus' 40 days in the desert. And what exactly happens in this book is that you have a bunch of people just pretty much go to the Judean wilderness. It's kind of like a desert-ish area, and they are staying there for 40 days in the period of self-isolation. So in that period of 40 days, they are kind of bunched together with one another, and they kind of have to deal with one another, sort of like a group of people being isolated in an area, having to survive, and at the same time they kind of have to deal with the idiosyncrasies to that's kind of like the light way of seeing it, the behaviors of every one of those individuals. And so we see how they interact with one another. And while they are there, actually 5 of the people who are in that period, of quarantine at that place, are kind of in a period of fasting as well. So basically during the day they don't eat, and they will only eat during the evening. So that's kind of like what happens. And there is also kind of like ideas of temptation going on with these people, and it's going to be kind of like a really important theme in here. So this book actually starts out with a woman named Miri. She is accompanying her dying husband to the desert, where she actually wants to bury him because she expects that husband of hers is going to die. And she's actually kind of happy about that prospect, because that husband, his name is Musa, Musa is like a really horrible person. He is really abusive, and he is very misogynistic, and he is also like as we see later, a very greedy person, quite shrewd when it comes to business matters, but overall just someone who is very materialistic and very greedy. So overall a very, very horrible person in this book. And the introduction to Musa just instantly makes you dislike him so much. And that happens to me. I really dislike this character. And you could totally see that he's going to be the antagonist in this book. So when they arrive at the desert, they kind of see that there are 5 other people coming to the desert as well. So 5 of those people, they intend to go there and live in their own caves for a period of 40 days where they would fast and kind of isolate themselves from the society. And all of them just kind of do that for their own various personal reasons. So one of those people, we have a Bedouin who is kind of thought of as kind of mentally unfit. He probably has some mental health issues going on, and many other characters think of him as sort of crazy. We also have a young traveler who is a blonde guy. He is quite conventionally attractive in this book, and he is a person who sort of is like on a quest to search for enlightenment. We also have an old man who is having cancer, and he intends to kind of go on this period of quarantine in order to be able to get rid of that cancer. And the 4th person would be a woman, and she is struggling to get pregnant. Basically, in her marriage, she can't get pregnant. And there is a hint that that might not be her issue, but she goes on this period of quarantine because she wants to get pregnant. And the 5th person would be Jesus. Yes, that biblical Jesus. So, but before you kind of dive into this book and expect that you're gonna see that exact biblical Jesus, there will be some liberties taken with that particular character. So expect that if you were to read this book. And it's not going to be like 100% what you see in the Bible, of course. Duh. And we just sort of see how these people interact with one another, especially when Musa kind of gets to know these people, and he just pretty much decides that because he was there first, he actually declares that that land is his, and he would charge those people on quarantine during their period of staying there, that they have to like pay him rent and for all other kinds of necessities like water and food. So yeah, he's kind of a bad guy, and he's giving these other people like so many different problems. And over the course of this story, we just kind of sort of see how these people deal with their own quarantine, but at the same time deal with this Musa dude as well. And just that's pretty much how it goes. And at the end, we see how the end of their quarantine happens. Now, first of all, when I started reading this book, I saw the blurb, and the blurb seems to suggest that this book would be kind of it would have a plot that would kind of resemble a Survivor-ish kind of a situation where, you have a bunch of people at the beginning, and at the end you'll have like a, one person, the last man standing, the winner, some sort, because it seems like there's one sentence over here. As the unforgiving days and bitter nights erode their resolve, it becomes clear that one among them will go further than the rest. And so it kind of suggests that kind of scene, at least that's how I saw it. And, let me tell you, it didn't go down that way at all in this story. So I feel that blurb, that part of the blurb is, it lied to me. And I I was kind of confused because I was expecting something like that. I had this expectation while I was reading, but I ended up getting something kind of different, and I was really confused. Now, my first impression on this book was that I thought that the writing was gorgeous. It's just so beautiful. It's technically speaking and mechanically speaking, the writing is just so beautiful. It's lyrical, it's poetic, so that's definitely there. I think that the writer is very good. I also really like the concept, especially when it comes to the retelling part of this story. It's really different from the original story, and I also like the different kinds of ideas that this story presents. Basically, like the idea of morality and how people just kind of respond to their own faith and religion, and the character of Jesus in this book is also kind of very, it's quite interesting. I think many places will say that Jesus is a main character in this book, but I would say he's not that big of a character in here. But he is certainly quite interesting, especially on how he sees religion, how he sees his own devotion. That's really interesting. Not gonna tell you how that is, but it's quite interesting. I really like the way that this reinterpretation is going on. So yeah, there are so many different kinds of ideas happening in here. This book is also very cynical. I did not expect that. I was quite surprised, but towards the end, the cynicism that this book is showing is just like there. It's like so obvious. This book is super cynical. Basically, if you want to read a book that has the concept of poetic justice or a bad character getting punished appropriately, you won't feel satisfied reading this book, because this book is just very cynical. While I was reading this book, I do feel that the story, the plot itself feels kind of draggy. And whether it was because of the book itself or whether it was because of my own mood, because, to be fair, many of the books that I'm currently reading right now feel kind of draggy as well. So it could be my mood. So I initially gave this book 2 out of 5 stars rating. But then at the same time, this book, I could identify, like what I said just now, I could identify so many things that would consider to be merits. So 2 stars didn't feel kind of right. If I were to look at it from the perspective of enjoyment alone, 2 stars seems appropriate. But if I were to consider like many other things as well, especially now that I feel much, I'm in a better mood, 2 stars does not feel appropriate. So I actually kind of changed it to 4 stars. While I was reading this book, it was kind of a toss-up between 2 and 4. So it's weird. Not 3 though, not 3. And I'm going to tell you why it's not 3. But this book kind of made me think about how I view books, especially after I complete a book. And it made me think about star ratings, because this book is kind of complex in its in the things that it's offering, and the aftertaste that it leaves in your mouth after you finish this book. It's really complex. It's not just like something that is really straightforward and you can say, oh, this is 5 stars or this is 2 stars. Even my 2 stars feels kind of conflicted. It made me kind of reevaluate how I view star ratings in general, and basically what I would consider 2 is a book that does not really make me feel like I'm having fun. And while I was reading this book, especially since one of the characters Musa, pretty much hogged most of the screen time, and I hate him, and I pretty much have to deal with him like in this entire book. I didn't like enjoy it in the traditional sense. So in that sense, 2 stars was something that I immediately thought of, But it wasn't really 1 star, because 1 star would be reserved for books that I thought was really problematic, really badly written. All of the books that I consider so bad it's so good, that would be 1 star as well. So this book is obviously not a 1-star book. But at the same time, if I were to kind of consider all the other things that I consider to be kind of nice about this book, things I could appreciate about it, I feel that it could be 4 stars as well. But it would be kind of strange at the same time, because 4 stars would be usually something that I kind of enjoy reading. I would be kind of, I don't know, smiling while I was reading. And I didn't smile while I was reading this book, because so many things in this book are kind of dreary and cynical. But 4 stars feel kind of appropriate as well. So I think at the end, I kind of revised my rating on this book into 4 stars. So yeah, it kind of made me realize even more. I've been thinking about this since a while ago, but it kind of made me realize that giving ratings to books, especially because now that I'm kind of using Goodreads, I started using it since 2020. Rating a book after you finish it seems like kind of a routine, but sometimes it just does not come across as very straightforward. Sometimes you want to give a book a particular rating that would you give it a 2, like how I gave this book a 2, but then at the same time the 2 felt weird because there were some nice things. Or maybe I should give it a 4, but then the 4 feels weird because there are things that you feel is not really enjoyable. So yeah, it is really strange, but it kind of makes me think less about ratings now. The importance of ratings would it gradually decreases, especially after I finished reading this book. So yeah, this book kind of represents a memorable experience for me. And I like that. I really like having that. Now, about 3 stars. I mentioned something about 3 stars just now. Why I would not give this book 3 stars. And the main reason is because this book actually made me feel like I was in a particular experience. Books that I gave 3 stars to are usually the kinds of books that that don't really provide a sense of experience. Like, I could be reading that book and the book would be so inoffensive that I could just pretty much read it without much negative thoughts about it. And by the time I finish, I would just kind of say, yeah, okay, it's finished. That's it. So that's the problem, because that book does not give me any experience. It doesn't give me any negative experience that I could rant about, but at the same time, it also does not give me any positive experience that I could rave about. What I prefer in reading books is to have a book that I could either rave about or rant about, because those are the kinds of books that I feel would be more worthy of my investment. Basically, reading books for me is an investment of time and energy, and I feel that if I were to read a book and once I finish it, I've expended all of those time and energy, but I didn't really get anything out of it. I didn't really get any kind of experience from it. It just feels kind of bland, very average, 3 stars. Then that book it doesn't really feel like it's worth my time. So in that sense, 3 stars would technically be the worst rating that I could give for a book. And I've never really thought about it that way, but just a while ago, while I was thinking about this whole rating thing, I conclude that 1 star is not the worst rating I could give to a book. Because 1 star means that I felt something. I felt something that it could be horrible or it could be just, bad, but at least there was something I could feel. But 3 stars is just something that is so bland, something that is so average. It feels like I just wasted my time. So yeah, 3 stars would be my worst rating. Yeah, kind of like a revelation for me as well. So yeah, that's kind of like my overall thoughts lately that kind of occurred to me this week, especially in relations to this book. And yeah, I guess that's it for this Bookish avec moi. It's mostly just this book. And I don't think I'm going to mention the books that I'm currently reading this week because they're all going to be the same as the list of books that I mentioned last week anyway, and I don't really want to repeat myself since at the same time I'm reading quite a few of them. But yeah, I just want to add that I think this week I'm starting to experience that dip in my reading mojo. So probably some of those books are going to be ditched. I'll probably just gonna continue with some of them if I still have the energy and time to, read some others. But yeah, I think the period of my reading high is going to subside for now. So who knows when it will come back again. This is kind of like my, the ebb and flow of my reading mood. But yeah, if you are interested to see what I'm currently reading right now, maybe you want to check out the previous Bookish avec moi if you haven't watched it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. What you think about ratings? So I would love to know what you think about ratings in general, especially when it comes to book ratings and Goodreads. And yeah, I just think that they are really, really simple and it doesn't really capture what I feel about them. And the revelation that 3 stars is the worst rating I could give, that was kind of shocking to me. So that's it. I'll see you again in a different video. So until then, take care. Thanks for watching and bye. Oh, by the way, I just kind of want to mention that this week, this is something that is not so bookish. Well, not bookish at all. But this week, I just received my first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. So, yay! Well, that's all. Bye-bye.